2022. So if you look at, and so that's what we've been facing is a steady rise, even though, as you can see from the graph, it goes up and down. But when we hit 1,111 individuals served in October, the shelves were bare. And it was on one of those days that Stefan came by and we were just sharing how difficult it's become to keep enough food for the people that we serve. The other handout is just the raw numbers, and you can see that at the moment, 1 month ago, we've served 133,000 and change meals. Last year, for the whole year, we served 122, and at that rate, we're going to serve about 145. And so there's a 10% increase from 22 to all of 23. We've done our best to reach out and enter into partnerships to help us. So we're members with Share, with Feel Abundance, with Caring for Friends, and we get large donations from large numbers of donations from individuals and especially congregations who support us. And so we saw on the agenda that what's on the agenda is $2,500, and I looked it up, and that will pay for just under about 2 weeks worth of food at the current rate that we're spending. And so we'd be grateful for help and assistance because we'll count on other folks to provide 2 weeks each throughout the course of the year. And then finally, I understand Tiffany made it to the last meeting, but she was late, and I believe she shared some of the stories. A huge part of the increase has been people from South and Central America who have crossed the border and put on a bus to get to Philly, and then Philly is fanning folks out. And so that's a part of the spike in October, which continues, and that brings with it the challenge of language and communication. And so we've had to secure people who can translate for us. And we don't anticipate that need dissipating. All the people I talked to who came have come and they are staying. They're staying with other people. In some cases, there's apartments with 2, 3, even 4 families. And so we continue, or we expect it will be in continual need. That's probably pretty close to my time limit. So let me step back, and if there are any questions, we'd be happy to answer them.
Can you talk about how you collaborate? Can you talk about how you collaborate with other food cupboards in Chester, like City Team and the Access Community Center and Catholic Social Services Food Bank?
The primary ones that we partner with is, forgive me, I cannot remember her last name, but Sabrina. She works out of Vittles, and she's got a relationship with Feel Abundance. So on Tuesday, she gets a massive delivery of food, and she serves, I was there this past Tuesday, I want to say it was 260 people on that one day, but she lets us know when they're done, and so we go pick up whatever's left. We're in conversations with City Team, but we're not there yet with them. In fact, we just sort of made those connections. Caring for Friends, on Tuesdays, we go to, they have a warehouse in east of the city, I can't remember the exact town, forgive me. And so we have that relationship. And you mentioned one other one that
Access Community Center.
Yeah, we have not. And I say that regretfully, and I want to reach out to them for all kinds of reasons. But Share and Feel Abundance right now. And we're not currently a full-fledged member of Feel Abundance, but we still have access to any of the free food that they have. And so we now have 3 to 4 deliveries per week. And again, that taxes our volunteer base because we also have a flight of stairs to go down to get in our space. So it sort of pushes in all ways. And then storage, we have a walk-in freezer, a walk-in refrigerator. But there are times, this is a good problem to have, but especially the freezer around Thanksgiving, if you opened it 2 or 3 turkeys, and they're frozen, they hurt when they jump out at you. So it can be very full and very challenging to collect it all, divide it all up, and then get it out again.
Have you heard of the other food organization called Sharing Access? They're based in Philadelphia. also provide food that's started by Drexel and Long.
Okay.
And I can email you later.
Thank you. I have not.
And the hot meals, they're prepared by volunteers that are at your facility, or how does that work?
No, this is, thank you for asking, because I can tell the story, but Vittles, which is only a few blocks down on East 9th, Stephanie Willis runs Everybody Eats Philly, and I met her, we got into conversation, so long story short, we have catered hot meals service, and 2 or 3 reasons we did that and felt it was so important. Number one is she is very conscious of nutrition. So when she brings a meal, it's got all the basics and it shows up, it's piping hot, goes right into trays. People just love it, as you can imagine. And it is more expensive, obviously, than if we would buy the food. But I can also personally give witness to, if you know what it takes to prepare a meal in a hot meals program in a church basement with volunteers. You know, you get the 5-pound thing of pasta, you get the 10-pound thing of sauce, you get there at 7 o'clock, start warming it up. And this is just, we can run the hot meal program with like 3 people. And most importantly, we are supporting Stephanie and a soon-to-be thriving business right in Chester. The board, I'm doing all the talking here. John was instrumental in saying, folks, we have no choice to do this. It's our mission, this is who we are, this is what we do, and to be a part of the larger community and support growing the local business. And then finally, we did receive funding from a foundation to expand to 3 days a week. And so our dream is that at some point, we might be 5 days a week.
So the food distribution is 3 days a week right now, for everything or just for the hot meals?
Right now it's 2. It's Monday and Wednesday, and they happen simultaneously, the food pantry and the hot meals. But probably we're aiming for the end of January to have a 3rd day for the hot meals. And we're talking about either an evening time or the weekend to try and catch people on the weekend if there's no programs, and people who work during the day.
And have you received any funding or any, not promises, but maybe good outlooks from either the state rep or senator or congressperson?
We have not. We have not. Although I need to say I have not pursued that avenue. And there's the encouragement from you all to do that. You're right on.
And have you also reached out to United Way?
We were members of we were members of United Way for, believe it or not, 4 years, because they extended it a couple times because of COVID. But their funding for us was for our after-school program. That funding ended in June of 22.
Any other questions? Mr. Councilman and Mr. Mayor-elect, any comments?
Yeah, I have a comment.
Because you're right there on the ground.
Right there on the ground, and I've seen the work of Chester East Side for many years, primarily as an after-school program in the earlier days, but now the mission continues to be after-school programming, but the demand for food is just so huge in the city of Chester. I just love seeing food go in and out, but I regularly have visited Chester East Side Ministry ever since being on council for a couple of reasons. They've had some issues in the building that we've helped settle. And then I've gotten down into the basement area where they operate. And it was, the reason I have him here today is it was just that one day where he said, we're out of food. And that had never, ever been the case. Why are you out of food? And it's that situation that we're hearing about every day, as he kind of lightly said it, but I hope he caught it. It's the migrants are coming into the country. Chester's being hit hard by being a destination for migrants, and we don't know where they're coming from. They're coming on an almost daily basis, by bus, by train, by car, some are probably even walking. you can identify them pretty easily. Some of them are walking around with backpacks and debit cards, so they're being set up to come down here to survive as best they can. We had originally assumed they were coming in because of the services that City Team could provide them, but City Team is pretty regulated, so many of them aren't even going through the City Team program. But it just seems as though one day they found Chester Eastside, and Chester Eastside doesn't turn anybody away. But as a result of, as you can see the graph, how it's peaked, the influx of new people have kind of, it's almost, I hate to use the term, a Hunger Games type of situation where the people who regularly always got served are being bumped by new people in town. And that's not to say it should be a competitive situation or not, it's just a matter of fact. It's a first come, first serve. So any opportunity that I see that I can steer food to Chester Eastside Ministries, I do. We were there Sunday, bringing in a pickup truck full of food from the FOP. So I just want you guys to really consider this unique situation and the timing of the situation for this organization that's been serving our community for so long. Originally basically education, but now, the education component is still strong. But the food insecurity, which, we're all about here, try to resolve, or at least put a dent in communities that are food insecure. I can vouch for Chester Eastside Ministries is doing the best they can with what they have to work with. I want to thank you guys for even mentioning other resources that they may not have even considered. Some of those names were new to me. So it's going to be a concerted effort, on all parts. But they're not going anywhere, but neither are the people who are knocking on their doors, looking for food. It's I would almost encourage you guys just to be there one day when they're giving food away at the pantry, hand feeding people. You see a lot of smiling faces when people walk away with boxes and bags of food, but you also see a lot of desperation. And the desperation ranges from little old ladies to infants, coming in strollers. It's really when you see what's going on, you have an appreciation for the staff and the work that they do to keep it flowing on a weekly basis. And you also have you can't help but for it to strike your heart just to see how, so many people are in need right now. So to the extent that we can help them, I hope that we can.
Stefan, can I ask what your reference was to City Team turning people away?
Well, it wasn't so much turning people away, but for people who want to receive City Team services, they have to go in, they have to sign in, there's a process for them to, take you in to the shelter for sure. They do feed anybody who comes through. So I didn't mean, feeding. I was just, the people who are coming into town need more than just a meal. And I think, our thought originally was that they were coming to Chester because City Team existed there. Not that City Team is bringing them in,
Right.
but
They were looking for lodging.
they're looking for lodging, feeding, clothing, which City Team does provide in a huge way. But there's no way in the world the City Team can accommodate, all the people that are coming in. So no shade on City Team. They do great work down there. But we are talking to City Team as well to help us, to have them help us kind of see who's coming through the doors, because, when the people come and they don't get served, they're not turning around and leaving right away. So there's going to be more conversation with City Team in particular. But that was the reference to the City Team.
Yeah, I know you're new in your role, but I think it's critically important that you know the other service providers in the community, and that you may even want to convene a meeting so that you can compare notes and really understand what this new trend is, and then how to communicate to your elected officials, how we can help you connect you to the right people so that otherwise it's sort of anecdotal. Well, these people are coming, but we don't really know where they're coming from. And there's information there, and I know that I think I connected you with, or I reached out to a member of our staff at the foundation, Daisy Artiles-Streckas, who runs our El Centro program, because we have Spanish-speaking staff who can provide translation services to better understand what the needs of this new community are. And I think she was going to reach out to you or reach out to some folks in the community to better understand what the issues are, but it sounds like it wouldn't be a bad idea for everybody to connect and sit down and have some conversation. We can't even begin to solve the problem without sharing information.
Excuse me, absolutely agree. I realized that I hadn't mentioned that through SHARE, we have some of that because there are monthly meetings of all of the SHARE programs, and our operations manager, Tiffany Kay, is deeply involved with that. And so, but I also know that's obviously just the SHARE pantries, and there's so many others. And without saying anything more, but beginning in this new year, when it gets here soon, my role is there's going to be a big transition in my role. Up until now, I've been tasked with working internally, if you will. So we have amazing staff in place. We've put some structure from finances to programs and everything in place. And that's exactly the kind of thing I'm going to be, that has been done. Is getting out in the world, making connections, building relationships, and especially and obviously with funders as well. So thank you, and we're going to be on that.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll get back to you. Sure. Okay, so let's move on to our treasurer's report. And I'll turn it over to Stefano.
December 2023 treasury report, opening balance $82,328.64. Our latest deposit hit the November bank account, $190,245.81. A little shy of $10 interest, $53,239 of checks were cleared in the latest statement, which left us with an ending bank balance on November 30th of $219,344.41. At the time that this report was generated, which was December 19th, a few more checks had cleared, so the current bank balance on the 19th was $201,844.41. Those are the checks that have cleared since the last meeting on November 15th. And what I do owe you are the still remaining outstanding checks, which I will send in a separate report.
Any questions on the treasurer's report? Do I have a motion to accept the treasurer's report, to approve the treasurer's report?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any questions or comments? I'll just make a comment. I did send, just to supplement what Stefan is doing, I did send him, and I believe it's available to everyone, the grants mailed or presented as far as their checks. There's a list of that. Most of those were sent out with the last batch around October 23rd. Multicultural Community Family Services, which is one here, originally got one. There was a delay with the grant agreement, so the check was mailed on the 28th of November. And like I said, most of the other organizations received their check late October or mid-November, with the exception of Multicultural Services. So they're the latest ones to have received their check. There could be a few that received it in mid-October, and for some reason they still have not cashed it. But I think we're probably pretty good. So I just want to add that comment. And it looks like this. I'll send it to everybody again if they need this. It's got the grantee, the amount, the category, and when it was mailed, the check was mailed to them or physically given to them.
Covering what period?
This goes back to June of 2023. I started tracking it in this
Great,
format.
super.
Because we were going back and forth trying to figure it out.
That'll be helpful to the new
Yeah.
financial folks.
All right, any other questions or comments? All those in favor of the motion to approve December 2023 Treasurer's Report, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Motion carried. We also have anything additional you want to add? We also have a motion to remove Stefan Roots as authorized signer and add Ron Evans as authorized signer for the checking account effective on or before January 1st, 2024, just for transition purposes, as Stefan term expires. We have to have 2 signatories. I did reach out to Ron, and he agreed to do it on a minimum of an interim basis. So, would anyone like to make this motion?
So moved.
Second? Second. Any questions or comments?
Thank you, Ron.
Yes. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carried. Thank you. At this time, I'll turn it over to our solicitor if he has any comments or anything to report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The only thing I have to report on is as authorized in the last meeting, we did place an RFP for back room services and had that in the newspaper. The treasurer has the proof of publication and the bill on that. I guess that bill needs to be approved. I didn't quite see that there. Maybe it is. I have not been I've only been contacted by one organization that had some questions about the RFP, but my understanding is that in the emails received by the authority that there are a number of responders and hopefully we'll have more. We gave people to December the 31st to respond. So I'm not sure how the board wants to proceed after December 31st. We had a treasurer or somewhat. So if you could just give me some guidance on that and whether I'm to be involved. And that's all I have to report.
Okay, thank you. Any questions or comments for our solicitor? Okay. Old business, also known as unfinished business. I'll turn it over to Francis Sheehan concerning our 2023 budget update.
I just gave you each a copy of just an update that included, actually it included the payment for the advertising for the RFP. I think it was about $980.
It's expensive.
And then, yes, that struck me too. I thought the whole point was that they were going to be more affordable.
I must have missed that. I didn't see that I didn't see that bill in the email. So please forgive me because I would have put it on the agenda.
I handed the original of the bill to Stefan right before the meeting. I don't have it at the moment. Stefan, how much is that bill?
It was an email.
Yeah, I thought it was on email last.
$745.
Oh, I didn't check.
All right, like I said, I set the agenda, obviously, and we worked together, but I must have missed that email, so I do apologize for not putting it on this agenda. I'm okay with everyone else if we move that to January to pay, unless you think that there's going to be an issue with that, Mr. Solicitor.
Moving it? No, there's no issue moving it. It would be an issue if you tried to do it right now and it's not on the agenda.
So I think the 980 that I have there, the yellow highlighted, is 745 plus an amount we paid, I think, in September.
Okay.
So if we vote to provide the additional funding for the arts and we approve the grant for the tax assistance, that still leaves us with a year end of over $85,000, again, approximate, which is 40,000 over what we had budgeted, and significantly more than where almost the amount that we started the year out, because I think we started the year out at 99,000, so we would be ending at about 85, so that's certainly responsible. So that's the update. So you can feel confident that we can afford to take the votes that we are taking today, should we decide to approve them.
Any questions or comments for Francis? I do have a question. Does that include the motion for 2,500 for Chester Eastside?
Yes, because if you look at the food security number, it's the full 100,000. If you look under food
Oh,
security
okay, I see.
grants,
Okay.
it was the full 100,000 that we had budgeted.
So if there is an amendment to that motion, we have the funding to do so. If
An
there is
amendment to what motion?
the $2,500.
That doesn't require an amendment, it's 2,500 left.
You're getting more
of the
generous.
100.
No, I'm saying if someone wants to amend that motion to change the amount,
They would have to do that.
we have the money to do so, if they want to do so. Okay. Any other questions or comments for Francis? Thank you. All right, so let's move on to new business. All these grants are pending county council approval. There is on the agenda a motion to approve one-time special grant of $25,228 to Community Action Agency to provide free tax preparation assistance in Delaware County. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Do we have a second? We have a second. All questions, any questions or comments? I'll make a comment. You know, it's our mission to, and I'll read the mission later. Our mission is to help with economic and community development. And this was a shock to me that that this is under our consideration, but because of the need for low and moderate income residents to have assistance with their tax preparation, and this being one of the only mechanisms to do it with the exception of Villanova, to my understanding. I feel we have to proceed with this. I'm hoping it's a one-time thing. I understand that this was an emergency, but I just wanted to make that comment. Any other questions?
It's more than just helping them do their taxes. It helps them do their taxes and get a credit, a refundable credit. So it really helps them
Right,
with
yeah.
their cash.
Yeah, well, when I mean prepare their taxes, the hope and the hope would be that the residents receive a tax
They're
return
eligible for it.
that will help them with their household expenses and also invest back into Delaware County.
I
Yes.
think the shock was that they didn't receive the grant request. And I think we can certainly ask that Community Action convene the other agencies that have provided the service in the past or might be interested in providing the service to have a coordinated application to the IRS, or to speak with the folks at the IRS about why they were turned down, to better address whatever the shortcomings were. I think my only concern, I wouldn't have any problem providing funding for a project that achieves the goals that this project is designed to do each year, because it certainly fits within our mission. But what I would like to see is that it not be a last-minute decision, that, you know, what usually happens is everybody works really hard between January and April or May, and then that's it. And then suddenly everybody thinks about it again in December. And I think it would behoove us to have a more organized, advanced process. So perhaps we convene a meeting with Community Action Agency, have them come back in
in May and report back to us on the success of the project and problems they encountered, and give some thought to what the project might look like next year, so that they have an application to the IRS that's more likely to be funded, and so that we're not caught, on the back foot.
Yes.
Yeah, I want to echo the comments that you all have made. I do think, to give you some comfort, Mr. Chairman, there is a, if done correctly, if executed correctly, there's a lot of knowledge to be transmitted to the resident about financial literacy. So there's a capacity building aspect to the program in terms of the public and the community development there. So I do think it works in our mission, but I can't agree more. We need community action to come to us earlier and be a little bit more methodical and report back about the numbers served. I mean, I know this program has been executed very successfully in Upper Darby in the past, but in this application, they talk about 3 other municipalities and the possibility of a pop-up in their Upper Darby office, when you're talking about more people, more underserved folks living in the Upper Darby zip code than in those other 3 places combined. So we need to talk to them about how they're advertising their program, where they're executing their program, and what their commitments are to make sure, as Francis said, that we're serving the maximum number of people and achieving the objectives of the program.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? All those in favor for this motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstained? Motion carries. There is a motion on the agenda to approve a grant of $2,500 to Chester Eastside Inc. from the remaining food insecurity allocation. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
It is second. Any
Yeah.
questions or comments? Mr. Solicitor, would this be the time for an amendment during questions and comments?
I'm sorry,
If you could remind me, please. On this motion, if there was an amendment, is this a time for an amendment
yes, you may do
during
it.
questions and comments? I make a motion to amend the motion to change the amount to $10,000. Do I have a second?
Well, it seems like you have to kind of jointly propose that we increase the allocation, because we're saying, Brandon, it's remaining food and security allocation. So you're increasing that allocation at the same time.
I withdraw my amendment.
You can talk now.
We'll vote on this and then revisit it in January. I think that's the simplest way to do it.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. All right, moving on. On the agenda is a motion to approve arts and culture total grant allocation from $69,550 to $74,550. Do I have a motion? Do I have a second?
Second.
Any questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. On the agenda, I have a motion to approve grant of $10,000 to Media Arts Council. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any questions or comments? I'll make a comment. This application was received during the grant period. It just didn't make it to the agenda item last month, so that was a slight on my behalf. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. On the agenda is a motion to approve 2024 meeting dates, including the reorganization meeting with start times at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The list is essentially the third Thursday of each month, and they are listed there. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Questions or comments on any of these dates or the motion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carried. I have a motion to authorize the solicitor to advertise 2024 meeting dates. Do I have a motion? Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
Simultaneous. Ron will figure it out.
Ron,
When he puts them in the
you hear
minutes, he'll figure it out. Any questions or comments on this motion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Motion carried. Well, I don't have new business on here. Oh, yes, there's something. I'll just make a comment concerning my feedback from County Council when I provided them a grant request, not a full quarterly update. There were some comments or questions about how do we determine our categories, how do we determine the percentage that goes into those categories, how are we strategizing about the disbursement of grants to categories or special grants. And there was also an additional comment of a request of a meeting with a county council person or persons that may occur in the future to just to kind of assess our values and the needs of the county. So I just wanted to make that comment and just let you know that overall they were very congratulatory and very appreciative of our efforts, and it was a good presentation or request for grants.
And this was at your last presentation before the full council.
Yes, in December, yeah, December for the grants that we passed in.
Okay.
Yes.
And were those questions for more than one council member?
Yes, there were questions and comments from more than one council member.
Requested a meeting?
The meeting may have been from one member rather than two. But
So
the-
one member expressed concerns, asked questions, and asked for a meeting.
I wouldn't say concerns, I think they just inquired. I don't think it was a concern. It was an inquiry. There were no concerns. When I think of concerns, I think negative. I think they were just inquiring about the process and about the outcomes of how do we disperse the grants among different categories and to entities throughout the county.
I would just suggest, as a sort of quasi-independent authority, that one where all five of us are volunteers, giving up our time, busy people, that we be cognizant of responding to one council member's concerns or requests, and that we, should a meeting occur, that it be with more than one council member, perhaps with county council chair or vice chair. I think we've done an exemplary job of moving money out the door for causes that have been very important. They have unanimously supported every recommendation that we have made. And I just think we have to be careful and getting beyond any of the personalities involved, because they won't always be the same people and we won't always be the same people. And so going forward, and perhaps our solicitor can weigh in on this, I just think we have to be very careful about responding to one person when they may only be expressing their own viewpoint and it may not be the viewpoint of of the other 4 members.
Understood. Understood. Thank you.
Do you have thoughts about that, Mr. Solicitor?
Putting me on the spot.
Well, I don't think this is unimportant. I think we're setting a tone for how we will behave in relationship to council going forward.
There's no doubt that we are an independent authority under the Pennsylvania Municipal Authorities Act. But we are a bit unique in that all through our bylaws, our articles of incorporation, it specifies that while we can make recommendations and approval of grants, that it is still subject to county council. So, and it's always difficult. There was an interesting situation years ago when a borough council voted to withdraw from the Upper Darby School Board, of all things, and it went to court. And what was testified to by the people who opposed it was that careful consideration wasn't given to other viewpoints. And the court basically ruled that when there was a vote of the borough council, and it was 4-3, 4 beats 3, and they just spoke. So the point being that you do need a majority. I don't think, however, at this point, inquiries, concerns, whatever, I view it here as communication and dialogue. So, and then you always reserve your own judgment when you hear somebody else's concerns or inquiry, whether they have validity or not. So it is, we're in a unique situation, having had even though we're an independent authority, we still have to get the approval of county council, so it would be a good idea to have their input. Just recognize, what is that input? Is it the whole board speaking, or is it just an individual?
Exactly. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments concerning my content? Thank you. All right, at this time, we'll open the floor to any public comment. And I don't see any at this time. So at this time, I'll open it up to authority comments. And I just want to, on behalf of the Delaware County Interactive Gaming Revenue Authority, we'd like to congratulate Stefan and bid him a fair due on his last meeting. It's been a pleasure working with you, and I think we have great things in store for you as a leader in Chester City, the city of Chester.
Cigars, thanks.
Be careful, it's glass.
Oh, thank you so much.
No, but it's been a pleasure having you on the board. You've been very supportive of all of our efforts, and dealing with the treasury is not the easiest thing to do, but you've done it in a responsible way, in a responsible manner. And even with me stepping up, you were like a mentor to me initially, and I would call you and say, how do you think the meeting went? How do you think the meeting went? You'd be like, oh yeah, the meeting went great. Just encouraging me. So I thank you for your service here on this event. And anyone else want to say anything?
Thank you. Good luck.
Great serving with you. Good to see you leave.
Yes.
Well, we're going to get to work with you now as the mayor of the city of Chester.
Oh, he'll be coming in here all the time.
Hand out.
Well,
Do you have a comment? Would you like to
I
make
guess
a
I'll
comment?
make a comment in the mic.
All right.
Oh, boy.
You got 3 minutes.
I got 3 minutes. Never give a guy 3 minutes. Well, I guess first I have to thank county council who selected me to join this board. The biggest joy of being on this board, beside you guys, the members of the board, is the fact that we started this from scratch. I value every board that I've ever been on because you learn so much, and it's certainly prepared me in this new role that I'm taking to have been on a number of boards. But none of them were started from scratch. And that was not a light lift to put this thing together. I will always be proud that, most of us here at Vince, you weren't here at the time, but we did a lot of work and put a lot of heads together, and there was a lot of cooperation in getting it together.
I think there's been some funny moments, some strange moments. I think the one that comes to mind right now is when we went to open the bank account and all the fiascos that went with our long name and having to work with that. But the one that really gets me right now is looking at Frank is when we went to TD Bank. It couldn't have been a day later. He calls up and said, "I got COVID." So you guys better go hunker down somewhere because I hope you don't get it.
It was a great Christmas.
Yeah.
Oh.
The biggest sense of pride I have, though, is to see this money go back into the communities across Delaware County. The setup is so unique. We don't have to work to bring money in. We just work to put money out. I'm a little miffed at your comment from City Council, and I'm glad you chimed in there, Francis, about, are we answering to one person or are we answering to the whole council? There's a part of me that says the nerve of you to come to us asking questions about what we're doing, because we know we're doing good work, and they pretty much rubber stamped everything we've done from day one. But, we're going to be good players, I'm sure, moving forward. In a big way, I never saw this day coming. I really look forward to the third Thursdays of every month. You've helped me overcome something I've always been challenged with, and that is working with numbers. I am not a finance guy. I'm an engineer, true and true. So I haven't been the best, but I've tried to be responsible and try to keep up on everything with regard to finances. I hope we can bring somebody in here who can take it to the next level and really, get us where we need to go with regard to financing and financing reporting. But fortunately, there's not a lot of transactions, so to put it in my hands wasn't as risky as it could have been had it been a little more difficult. I love all you guys. It's been great working with you. We are going to see each other, down the road. Paul, I'm going to say from the very beginning, I was somewhat jealous that you became the chairman, because I kind of had my eyes on being the chairman when I saw that Francis didn't want it. And what's her name? The lady who was with us? Doreen Story. Yeah, Doreen didn't want it, and I knew that we were looking around at me, and Paul nominated himself. I was like, oh my God, he did it. You've done a fabulous job. When I talk about this board, I talk about you. We are chaired by somebody who has taken the bull by the horn, and not only do you do an excellent job facilitating the minutes, but you put a lot into it as far as thought and time and keeping to the mission and keeping us honest, making us work, and that's really the role of a head of a board. I'm very, 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 very proud of the work that we've done, these 2 years. This is one of the best boards that the county has. There's no doubt about it. I've got my toe in a couple, and I look at several of the others. I just hate to go, but I got bigger things to do. I've got to go. I don't know if the timing of this end of the term was on purpose or it just fell into the 2 years, but it's perfect. I don't have to feel like I'm breaking away from something. I kind of get it out because the term is over. That kind of brings a little comfort as well. But I wish you guys the best moving forward. I'll keep an eye on you. And to Paul's point, I'll be bringing in some Chester organizations who really don't know it, but we've done some great work for Chester, and there's not a lot of organizations that are keeping their eye out, for that community like we have. So I want to thank you guys for that as well.
Thank you. All right, do I have a motion to adjourn? Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Paul, I got some handouts for you.